Hi, everyone. Welcome to our latest edition of Tech Bites Takeover, or as I like to call it, Between Two Geese. Today, we're talking actionable AI insights for your data protection. And today, folks, we got a special guest star, Jorge de la Cruz. Now, Jorge, I've been following you for years. I love your work. And I think we have some congratulations in order. You're now Director of Product Management Observability and AI. I need to have AI read that for me. Jorge, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, my name is Jorge La Cruz. I'm super happy to be here with you guys. I've been following you as well because we are all part of the well, we were part of the community before, right? Part of the Veeam community, and now we all three work here. So I'm delighted to be here. I think one of my favorite things is to be here in the middle of the slide, between the two of you. And yeah, let's. I think we are going to have a good talk regarding AI and many more topics.
Yeah, absolutely. We're thrilled to have you. You are the official person sitting between the two geese here, so thanks for hopping on. But yeah, we've got a great episode lined up here, right? So we got three co-hosts here. We're going to talk, and provide a couple of resources for those folks who are getting started with AI, because let's face it, it's everywhere now. We're also going to have a quick roundtable discussion around data resilience, security at home, and that's all going to be followed up with one deep dive into Veeam Intelligence. I mean, we have Jorge here. He's the master of the product. Prepare to have your mind blown so you'll leave with zero regrets watching. Now, we talked AI, and it's everywhere these days. You can't go anywhere without, touching it in some form. I was using an example not too long ago where just even my phone, we take pictures now, and I started dabbling with it on the iPhone where you could do things like just completely remove people from the pictures right on the phone. That's all AI generated. And that's cool and all. But then I also find myself thinking, you know what? I want to make sure I actually still preserve that original one somewhere. So that kind of led me down the topic of how do I make sure my data is still safe at home? It's like I might want that edited photo, it'll get uploaded to iCloud, but then there's a little bit of a form of lock in there. And, the three of us, as you mentioned, Jorge, we all kind of come from the community. We all run home labs. So data resilience is always top of mind. And we're kind of cursed with that knowledge of security as well. We want to make sure things stay secure. We don't get hit by viruses, ransomware, all that sort of stuff. So, Jorge, I'll toss it to you first. What are your thoughts around, what's your data resilience look like at home?
Yeah, so the data, this is very important, right? Because I have, I have a family, right? I have a wife, then I have the two kids. We take millions of pictures about everything, right? Like food, special occasions, Halloween that is going to happen soon, all of that stuff. And those memories are really important for us. So what I do, I know it's going to sound redundant, but I really use the Veeam agent for Windows and for Mac because I have a Mac as well. And what we do is just I just have the agent across all the computers at home, and then with that I take it to a local repository here on my Harden repository on my lab, and I'm sending a backup copy to an S3 bucket that I just have. I just pay myself, and which is immutable, and I keep their copies for 30 days. That's how it looks like here at home. It's not just only that. As well, for the home lab, as you mentioned, I have a large infrastructure there, which is pretty similar to like an SMB, perhaps, right? So I have my Active Directory, I have that has DNS, that has DHCP as well. I have the Grafana and many other projects there, Proxmox and so on. And for that, I use some sort of enterprise thing, right? With the Veeam backup and replication, taking copies, and so on and so forth. So yeah, as you can see, I'm using pretty much of everything Veeam suite oriented, Veeam Data Platform.
Yeah, I'm actually really similar. I have a NAS at home, and I run a vSphere environment, dabbling with Proxmox. Similar to you, I've got some VMs that I actually use to run some services around the house, things like Home Assistant. Now, the real pain is I don't want to set all that stuff up again. So, of course, I'm using Veeam to back those up to my NAS. But I also got file share where I still manually put a lot of my photos. Like you were saying, that these things are irreplaceable. And you always hear about data growth and all that sort of stuff in the enterprise. Let me tell you, as soon as you have kids, your data growth is insane when it comes to pictures, videos, and all that sort of stuff. So much like you, I've got that backup that sits, on the NAS repository, but then I also send it offsite. I use a cloud provider for S3 because why not? It's cheap, gives me that immutability, and I know that if I ever need to recover, I can actually just pull that down fairly easily. So redundancy is very important. Tyler, how about you? I know you've got a pretty good home lab setup.
Yeah, and you'll be surprised to learn, Matt, that I'm not that dissimilar from you. I've got my NAS, I've got all my files, my videos, my pictures, all that going to that NAS, and I've been doing that for years. I mean, I've been collecting a ton of data, and my wife's one of the worst offenders for that. She takes so many videos and pictures, and they're all so near and dear to my heart, but it takes up a lot of space. So I'm constantly worrying about data growth and expanding my home NAS to be able to capture more. And then what do I do for offsite backup? Just like Jorge, I actually use Veeam. Surprise everyone, I use Veeam. But I take that and I back it up to an S3 bucket as well, right? Because really to be able to capture that data and have it in case of a hard drive failure, which I have suffered through, right? I've had hard drive failures and I'm like, what a great time to test my recovery plan after things fail, right? So that's what I've done that. I've had my NAS. I've got, a virtual network just like Matt does, running some services at home. I got my Minecraft server that my kids love to play on. So I have to make sure that's backed up and able to restore because my son, he's 8, he loves using that TNT in that Minecraft world, and that will cause some havoc. So, I do a lot of that stuff, and it's great to just have that extra layer of protection there. So yeah, Matt, like what other things do you do with the home lab? Do you have any other takeaways for us?
So yeah, a few things kind of pop to mind here. For us IT professionals, we really need to kind of treat a lot of our home lab equipment similar to how we treat production stuff. Unfortunately, all too often you don't realize what you've lost until it's gone. And there's so many tools available today to really adhere to the best practices out of the box. One thing I'd love to hear from is, anyone watching this, do you have any best practices to share? Have you ever lost any data? What have you learned from that? I know one of the things I learned very early on is, documentation is key, but things like when you're using S3 buckets, make sure that you actually document things like the access keys. So if you do have a problem, you can actually go back and get the data back out. Now, Tyler, I know you kind of touched on Minecraft there. I'd be interested to hear a little bit more about that. I'd also be curious to know if anyone watching has any input on this because, similar to you, I set up a Minecraft server for my son, and it'd be the end of the world if something happened to that.
Oh yeah, no, it's been years. I was huge into the Minecraft community many years ago, and I ran servers for a long time, and it kind of bit me, right? I put up a Minecraft server for my kids, but I didn't lock it down just to them, so I ended up having some random people come onto my server and grief the server. I know if you're a Minecraft admin, you know what I'm talking about, right? So to be able to get that backup and do that quick recovery was huge for my kids because they're all worried they have now hackers on the Minecraft server, right? Like it's devastating to the young ones when you've built up you spent all this time building your Minecraft server. So yeah, I'll use Veeam agent backup for that, and I've done instant recoveries for that Minecraft server itself somewhere else just because hey, things happen, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, we talked about this. I mentioned a couple of times about there's things that we can learn from work that we should bring home to, for data resilience. But I think there's also things, that we can play around with at home that we should take back to the office as well. I know the three of us, we've been playing around with a lot of AI stuff, right? And obviously we're here to talk AI today. Now, one of the really cool things I'd like to dive into a bit more is, around the Veeam Intelligence. So I could give a spiel about that, but let's face it, we have Jorge on here. So Jorge, why don't you walk us through what Veeam Intelligence is? And just before you do that, anyone watching, if you've played around with this at all, like we'd love to hear some thoughts from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Matt. So, well, Veeam Intelligence, you can see it here right now on the screen. It appears on the interface of the different Veeam products that we have today. But what is it, right? What is it behind all of this? Is it something that is running within the Veeam server? So the answer is that Veeam Intelligence, it's as a service itself. So it's a service that is free of charge for Veeam customers. We run it all of that in-house in Veeam, right? So we put all the horsepower for you, and the only thing you just need it's either Veeam 1 since 12.3, right? So that is Veeam Data Platform Advanced. And then now it has expanded. So now it's as well Veeam Intelligence is part of Veeam Service Provider Console since version 9, which is absolutely fantastic for service providers. We do have Veeam Intelligence as well now on Veeam Software Appliance as well, the newly version, which is Linux based and it's super secure. Veeam Intelligence is there as well. And of course, Veeam Intelligence, you can find it as well in Veeam Data Cloud. We're going to reach more other Veeam products, but at the moment, those are all that it has Veeam Intelligence working within the UI. So what is it? As I said, you need to go under configuration because this is very important, right? Veeam Intelligence is not forced. This AI is not forced that you need to enable it or it's automatically enabled, etc., etc. No. You need to go into configuration and then go there and enable it. It depends of the product. Oh, I think I got okay. It depends of the product. You will have either basic or advanced as well, or disabled, right? So by default it's disabled, and if you want to, for example, start asking questions regarding the technical documentation, then basic it's perfect for you and for the users that they are going to use this the Veeam Intelligence within the UI, right? That's basic for all the help center documentation. It's not just help center. We do have help center. We have KBs. We sometimes look at the community.veeam.com because they're very, very good blog posts there. So sometimes Veeam Intelligence just go there, and if he thinks that the response is going to be, had enough context and it matches, then it's going to show the response right there. And then there is the other mode, which is advanced. And advanced mode, it's in Veeam 1 since version 12.3. It's in Service Provider Console today. And what the advanced mode brings, it's the ability to start talking with metadata, right? So what's happening so for example, you can talk about jobs that have been happening. You can talk about the resources that you're protecting, the VMs, the workloads. You can talk about, for example, in Veeam 1 about alarms. For example, in Service Provider Console, you can talk about billing or licensing. Advanced is just enables to communicate with all the metadata, everything that is happening, getting insights out from the Veeam product. So advanced, it's the one that I prefer the most because I can get a lot of information out of it within a few questions. But anyways, even in basic, you can get so much out of the basic mode because you do not need to Google it first. Second, because it can help you with PowerShell scripts, right? So if you're trying to quickly craft a PowerShell script regarding this and that, you don't need to spend time going into the forums and so on. So I think that is at a glance Veeam Intelligence. What do you think, Matt?
Oh, so one thing that I truly, truly love is the way you could go in there and ask it questions about the answers it's giving you. It's not just a one-way conversation or one and done. We kind of have some examples here, and we're going to dive into these and get a lot more in depth. But I really enjoy using chatbots, AIs, ChatGPT, any of that stuff to have a conversation to help me understand things. Sometimes it's a matter of, what are the 3 workloads I should be looking at that are missing RPOs most often? Start digging into it a little bit more. What's the impact of this? What's the average length of time that they've missed their RPOs by? Being able to have those questions, as someone in the past who's been in an operations role, I didn't always have another set of ears to listen to me. So it's nice being able to have someone where you can start bouncing these ideas off of. That Tyler, do you have any thoughts on this?
Matt, like you hit the nail on the head with being able to bounce ideas off of a different kind of chatbot because let's face it, sometimes you have a question that you're like, this might not be a question that I really want to ask anybody else. Somebody might think it's a silly question. You can ask Veeam Intelligence and be like, hey, am I even following best practices with my Veeam environment, right? And you can get some good tips, some good hints on what you can do to make sure your Veeam environment is set up appropriately for the best practices to get you the most efficient use out of the tool that you bought and used. So I love Veeam Intelligence for that. I love asking some of the questions like Matt said, jump in there and say, what are the things I need to worry about right now, today, with my environment? Because if you're working operations, you don't always have the time. You're not always sitting there working in your Veeam environment 24/7. You have a bunch of competing priorities, competing tasks, and you want to be able to get to the meat of the issue as quickly as possible. That's why I love just jumping right into Veeam Intelligence and just start asking some questions, right? It gives you some great information there. So, I want to remind everybody who we are here. I am Tyler Jergens. I got Matt Crafe. I got Jorge de la Cruz, and we're all here on the Between Two Geese episodes. We love to get some great feedback from our audience today. Like, I want to hear from you guys. Have you used Veeam Intelligence? Have you found some tips and tricks that you can share with us and share with the other people in the community? Because I think all three of us, we nailed it earlier. We're all three community focused people. We love to get that kind of feedback from you on what are you using with the tool, what can you expand upon, and what do you think needs to be improved upon. I mean, I like sitting there and pretending like Veeam Intelligence is, I'm talking to Jorge sometimes, like I just use it. I chat in there, I'm like, Jorge, I tell it, hey, look, Veeam Intelligence, I'm going to call you Jorge. And I just ask it, Jorge, what can I do here with my Veeam environment, right? So, Matt, I think we have a question from the community today. Why don't you?
Yes, actually. So yeah, thanks, Priyanka. So we have the question of, it's around the appliance, and Priyanka is wondering like what sort of vendor is actually backing the appliance. So the Veeam software appliance, which was launched back in September, it's actually, as I said, a software appliance. We don't bound you to any specific hardware. So whether you're an HPE shop, Lenovo shop, whatever sort of hardware you use today, you can actually use that to deploy the Veeam software appliance to a physical host. It's also available in virtual form, so that if you've got a hypervisor that you want to run it on, you can do it that way as well. But ultimately, it's super flexible. So getting back to the topic of AI, Jorge, I know you've got quite the demo lined up for us here that you're going to walk us through.
Yeah, absolutely. I have. I think I always prefer, live demo, so you can we can just go through all of this, and I just prepare a few prompts that we even present these prompts at Veeam a session with Anthony Spiteri regarding top 10 prompts that you can ask to Veeam Intelligence. You can ask anything, right? As you mentioned, one thing that I really like is not that I don't like Reddit. It's just sometimes when you go to Reddit, you will get that salty responses about why don't you know this, right? And with this, I at least I avoid that, right?
No judgment.
No judgment. Yeah.
And Tyler, you were saying earlier that you sometimes think when you're chatting with the bot, you're chatting with Jorge. I'm the same way. I read the responses in my head with his voice. So very personalized experience.
Wow. Okay. Let me move you there. Can you see the screen? Everything is good. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that looks great.
So what we're seeing here is Veeam 1 version 13, which, by the way, it just went as well. It is released under my my.veeam.com. If you're a customer, you just go there and download it there, so you can just install it. And then if I go over here, then I will see the Veeam Intelligence. And remember, this is the Veeam Intelligence for Veeam 1. So let me show you quickly. If I go here and if I click here, Veeam Intelligence, this is what I mentioned before. By default, it's disabled. There is no AI, there is no LLM within Veeam 1, within any product. You can always jump to the basic mode. Once again, Help Center, community.veeam.com, all of that is going to be automatic for you, or advanced mode, which is the mode that I always have enabled, because again, I really want to get information from the Help Center plus information regarding my home lab here, right? So let me go back and let me show you here the prompts that I mentioned, right? If you are out of prompts, if you don't know what to ask, we always have here a few recommended prompts, right? How to create a historical report, backup infrastructure audit summary, Veeam Intelligence recommendations, about things about alarms, and even malware as well. So, but in any case, let me go and grab my prompt from here. And the prompt is very long. So it's like, show me my Veeam backup servers, right? Including the host name, version, and status. So I'm telling already the expected output, right? And then please compare each backup server version versus the current release info. And then I'm giving there one link. And additionally, I'm asking Veeam Intelligence to go and compare against another official Veeam resource. So there are 2 KBs just to save me time to go there. And if I have 1 or 2 BBRs, that's okay. But imagine you have 100 BBR, 120, 200 or more, the time that you're saving just by asking this. And see if there are any outdated servers. Show me a table with host name, version status, and at risk, if a last column, if it's based on these pages. So very, very detailed. What do you think, guys? Well, this is thinking. What do you think about this specific prompt? Useful on your experience?
Absolutely. I think that's a great prompt there that you've thrown in there. And like you kind of hit the nail on the head when you're using Veeam Intelligence in the advanced mode. It is information, it is data about your data, right? So when you toss in a prompt like this, it can actually feed back information about your Veeam environment. So I love that. So Jorge, it looks like we've got some information coming out. Why don't you walk us through what is this, what you expected to see? Is this what we're hoping to find out?
Well, I mean, let me take a look. One thing that I wanted to show you is that within the months after we release it, few customers, few even internal people were telling us, what you're doing is great, but it's really a black box. We cannot see how you get to the conclusion, how Veeam Intelligence go to the conclusion to get that response. So we expose all of the backend of how we are getting that response, right? So it's here. It's by default, it's always collapsed, so it doesn't really bother you much. But you can always go here and expand, and then you're going to see, okay, selecting the relevant REST endpoints. It went to the VBR backup servers that it has all the information. Great, and now it went to those 2 KBs that I gave it, and finally it put all the data together. So at least the thinking process is absolutely flawless here. Let's see the response. It's a table showing, yeah, I have my 2 BBRs. One of them is the Veeam software appliance. The other is 12.3, right? And then both are connected. And it's telling me, it's even exceeding my expectation. It's telling me that it's not a risk, but there is an update available. I think we released at 12.3. It was very recently, right? It was even perhaps it's today or a few weeks ago. But it seems that there is not security vulnerabilities within that one. So yeah, if you ask me, this response is great. And again, I had 2 servers, but if I had 100, this will have saved me easily 15, 20, 30 minutes, really.
So easily. So what I really like is the transparency with the thinking process, right? So you could go in there and see what is actually going on. How did I arrive at this answer? Now, Jorge, you mentioned you could use this for, let's say, 100 servers. That's all fine and dandy, but that might be a little hard to actually read within that tiny little window, right? So like, what can you do with the results?
Yeah, with the results, that's another thing that we keep adding, within the months, getting feedback from customers, getting feedback from internal resources, even from the community, right? If you're watching this, please leave a comment here. You can always move this table here because it's an artifact, an AI artifact, and then what it means is that it's converting the information that is getting from an LLM, from an AI, into something useful, right? In this case, this is a data grid, but we are about to release as well like data charts and pie charts. It's not yet available, but I'm just giving you a tiny spoiler. The other artifact that I really like, it's exporting this, what you are seeing here. As Matt mentioned, if you have 100 or even more than 50 that you cannot scroll, you can just download this data as a CSV and JSON. So it's very useful. And then, of course, from here, just put it into your Power BI or Excel, whatever you really need to do directly from here. So the other thing I really like, it's if the response, for whatever reason, I mean, if it's great, I would love you to click here, a good response. But if the thinking process was wrong, the response is absolutely, not what you were expecting. We're expecting as well your kind feedback. So just go here, click bad response, select a quick why it's not what you're expecting, and if you even have like deep feedback, please click at your own and say like, I was live and this was great, but it could be better. I don't know. And then, by the way, we review all of this. My team and myself, we just review this pretty much on a daily basis, just to see what are the responses and how we can, improve them, especially the negative ones. Positive are good to see, but we review negative more. Okay, click send. So.
Yeah, I love that, Jorge, because instead of sending you a Teams message, I just write a feedback in Veeam Intelligence directly, and I'm like, Jorge, I love the results. So was there another demo? Anything else you want to show us here?
Yeah. I have just one more prompt, and then I will go to the Veeam software appliance. So let me pick, because I have a few more here. I think it's going to be show me the probably an RPO one, right? So it's just about protection. Okay, so this is my prompt. Paste here. I have just an instruction to amend our RPO across our virtual machine workloads from 2 weeks to 7 days. Please tell me which VMs will be breached and what jobs need to be changed to comply. Very nice. So once again, hopefully this is going to reach and fetch the endpoints that are more relevant. Let's see. Let's be curious.
It's thinking away. So we'll see what the results are here. And you mentioned the Veeam software appliance. So maybe after this, you could pop into there quickly just before we wrap up the show here, but it shows what are the capabilities baked into that.
Yes, absolutely. So the response the response was good. It's telling me that I had one VM that they will not be compliant. So that's nice. And then let me go quickly into the Veeam software appliance right here. So about passwords and everything. So now this is Veeam software appliance over here. I have Veeam Intelligence because I enable it. By default, it was disabled. I just enable it. At the moment, in current version 13, we have basic mode, but what is coming in 13.01 before the end of the year, we will have as well advanced mode. So you will be able to chat with all of your data right here within the Veeam backup and replication, right? Without Veeam one. I don't know. Let's ask like what's new in Veeam software appliance. This is one question that you 100% will not ask in Reddit, right? So, but you can ask it here, because it's like, what's new in Veeam software appliance version 13? And then you do not need to read the what's new, there's this great document, but it's maybe too long for you. You don't need to go and see videos. Everything is here. Wow, it's telling us, pre-hardened turnkey solution running as secure, just enough. It's giving links to everything, web-based, security and compliance, pre-hardened, cloud integration, performance and scalability, HA. And it's showing you from where all of this information is coming from. So
I love all this. I love the fact that it's built right into the platform. It's right there. You never need to leave the console. It's fantastic in that regard. I would love to hear from anyone watching this. Have you actually started dabbling in AI? We're seeing it once again everywhere. It definitely feels like one of those things where you need to at least start getting up to speed on it, understand the fundamentals. Just like a lot of us who have been in IT for a while, maybe growing up, we actually took things like typing class in school because that was deemed a critical skill to learn at the time. It seems like AI is very quickly getting to the same spot. So I know we've got a couple of recommendations here as far as AI courses. Tyler, I don't know if you want to talk through these quickly.
Yeah, like, and these are some courses that Jorge helped us find just for information and some ways to expand your knowledge on what AI is and how you can use it. I really like, if you're going to pick one of the courses right off the bat, that AI for Beginners from Microsoft itself is a wonderful course to teach you a little bit more about AI. And then we get some more advanced courses. I think we're going to get some dropped into chat here for you as well. So there's a ton of information out there on AI, what you can do with it, how you can expand your use cases with it. And really, for me, it comes down to, some of this stuff is great, but I need to know why it matters to me. Like, how can I use AI and how can I make it effective for my day-to-day business? And so I like to use some of these courses just to brush up my knowledge. Some prompt courses are great, so you can really just help AI help you more and get to that answer faster and more effectively. Jorge, these are some of the courses you had prompted. Was there anything specific you wanted to call out about them?
That I absolutely love to recommend all of them. If you have time, they are very, very nice just to go. They're different levels, so you can just always see what it's more suitable for you, what's more your cup of tea. But yeah, if you are into AI and if you are into building small proof of concepts of AI, or even if you are into a bit more the next step, these are very nice. And of course, always the Microsoft path, which you can get, like a valuable certifications for your CV, for your resume. Having AI that you've been doing training on AI within your CV, I think it's totally worth it. Not for the day to day, but even just as a career growth. So yeah, thanks for adding all of this here.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think we're coming to the end of our show, but one thing we want to leave you with here is we've got our global launch event coming up in the fall. We got the dates right here on the slide. November 19th is we're going to see our global launch event. So please register. We got the registration link there in the QR code. And it's a great way to learn a little bit more about Veeam, a little bit more about Veeam Intelligence. And we're going to have some great information and great things that we're going to talk about in that global launch event. Matt, did you have any closing thoughts for us?
Thanks, Jorge, for joining us. We really appreciate you coming on here, being our first, guest that we've had on here. For anyone who happens to be in the area, there is a Veeam tour happening in Toronto in a couple of weeks. I'll be there. If you happen to be there, you see me, be sure to stop by and say hi. Love to hear what you have to say, what you want to hear about, what you'd love to see more of. Thanks for that. Tyler, Jorge, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I strongly encourage everybody to drop by if you're in Toronto and go give Matt a good solid honk, right? Tell him you said hi. We love to hear from you guys directly. Jorge, close us off.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, thank you so much for inviting me to this first first episode of this series. And I will recommend everyone using Veeam Intelligence. Again, it's not a joke. Please go there, provide feedback with some thumbs up or thumbs down, because it is helping us to help you within for the next releases and so on. So yeah, thanks so much for watching.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks all.